Welcome to Football Today Team Profiles and Projections. Today we're looking at the Arizona Cardinals, who came in our power rankings at 25th after a 4-13 season. New head coach, kind of tore down the roster. Kyler Murray missed, the majority of the season before finishing it off. And, offensively, they were ranked 24th in points per game, 22nd in EPA per play. Defensively, it was awful. And that's where the worry is for this team. They were 31st in points, 31st in EPA per play. The Commanders being awful really saved them from being dead last in a lot of categories. Head coach is Jonathan Gannon's second year after coming over as the Eagles defensive coordinator. Drew Petzing's second season after being the Browns tight end coach, then 1 year of QB coach as the OC, and then Nick Rallis, who was the Eagles linebacker coach, as the DC for the second year. This team was depleted of talent last season, and again, missed Kyler Murray for the majority of it. But, Justin, this team had 12 draft picks, including 2 first-rounders, including 8 in the top 105. Eight picks in the top 105, 2 first-rounds. They basically had 2 normal draft classes. And I think they did really well with it. And this team didn't get any worse at any position and improved at like running back, wide receiver, O-line, D-line, edge, safety. The defense is still barren, and I don't think the defense is going to be good. But the offense can be good, right? Like week 1 to 9, they were 29th in EPA per play. Kyler comes back, they were 9th in EPA per play. It's just a question of what exactly are we getting out of Kyler Murray, because it has there's a lot of fun components of this offense.
In a year where underdogs barely covered last year, that's apparently a thing from 2023, is that there was a lot of blowouts, not a ton of close games. And I even noted that just from an NFL standpoint and watching some of these primetime games. You had the Arizona Cardinals that went 9-8 against the spread last year, where they fight against the Giants week 2, and the Giants had some expectations, and then they beat the Cowboys week 3. And this is all without Kyler Murray, and this is all Josh Dobbs led. And those Cardinals were a scrappy football team last year, and I really think they had a bottom 3 roster in the league last year, especially when you take Kyler Murray out of the mix. When Kyler Murray was in the lineup, though, Bobby, they were 9th in offensive EPA per play, 15th in EPA per dropback, and 2nd in EPA per rush. They ran the ball well. James Conner had a really, really good year. And like you mentioned, their draft class, it was my, when when you have 1, 2, 3,
12 picks,
4, 5, 6, 7.
Eight in the top 105.
They had 7 top 100 picks, and then they had the 104th pick. So that's 8 picks in the top 105, like you just said. Obviously, I think you're going to like, maybe you're going to like the players that come out of it. But Bobby, it was my favorite draft class from this past year. And they really did a good job. I liked how they did a good job of, all right, we're going to acquire all these picks and be in such a good spot in the second year of our regime, and kind of like the second year of this rebuild too. So
the defense I still think is going to be really bad, but this is
but it's a long build.
This is this is a fantasy football offense. You have Kyler Murray, who can perform, can be up and down at times, but he's going to give you positive quarterback play. And then let's just talk about some of the offensive weapons. You add Marvin Harrison, he's going to be a wide receiver 1 from day 1, right? He will be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. Not even a second thought. And then Trey McBride, right? Kind of quietly showed why he was the number 1 tight end in the 2022 class. He became a baller last year. He was a beast. McBride had 53 catches, 538 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 8 games with Kyler after Zach Ertz left. And you're like, oh, but somebody had to get the ball on that team. Wrong. He had an 80% catch rate in those games. When you think 80% catch rate, you think of a guy who's getting 30 yards per game and catches, 2 passes. The volume with that efficiency is nuts. So you have as good of a wide receiver, potentially as good as a wide receiver tight end duo as you can get.
And Trey McBride was 2nd in yards per route run last year among all tight ends.
Yeah, they were forcing Zach. They ran a lot of 2 tight end stuff, but they were playing Zach Ertz. They get rid of Zach Ertz, and then you really see why we, me and you love Trey McBride coming out of that draft.
Loved him.
And he's starting to flourish. And then Now that they have Marvin Harrison, they really like Michael Wilson as their wide receiver too, and their third receiving threat. He had 43 yards per game last year, and his best game was the last of the season with 95 yards. And then Zay Jones as depth. Really, the only and we'll talk about James Conner and Trey Benson. Really, from the weaponry, the only thing they're lacking is someone that can just hold down the slot. They really don't have anyone on the roster who's handled even a decent amount of slot duties in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. I don't hate Zay Jones. That's okay.
But again,
for this Cardinals team,
Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Zay Jones on the field. Who's playing the slot? Like, you might even just put I think Marvin Harrison. They'll give him some touches there to get him involved. But like, you don't have a true slot wide receiver on that team.
No, you don't. But I mean, basically, Bobby, there's reason for legit excitement in Arizona this year. I mean, you have
offensively, they could be really good.
You have a healthy Kyler Murray, and also a Kyler Murray that I like how his teammates and the team is backing him. There seems to be no rumors of, oh, we want to move on from this guy. We're not committed. Seems like they're in, man. Even if they're not in, and the front office isn't in, whatever, they have plans, and we'll obviously see what happens this year. Trey McBride is talking about how, hey, I think Kyler Murray is a guy that can go out there and lead us to a Super Bowl, win an MVP, and do all this stuff. I love it. Like, have the belief in the guy that you have there, because this offense, like you said, with the possibly a generational receiver in Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, second in yards per route run last year, James Conner, who was crazy efficient. You add Trey Benson, who's just the most explosive running back in the draft last year. I mean, there should be, I have expectations for Kyler Murray and this offense to do some damage this year.
Yeah, me too, right? And the thing with Kyler is he got overrated. Like, the reaction to his I will never forget a clip of Dan Orlovsky and Kyler Murray's second year, where he's like, I was talking with some people, and if they had their choice of any quarterback in the NFL, they would pick Kyler Murray. It's like, okay, well, we're going a little bit overboard. And then he had that awful playoff game, and then got injured, and he wasn't having a great season either. And he kind of became underrated, where it was like, Kyler Murray's a meme with the Modern Warfare or whatever that video game is. But he is like a really good quarterback who can do things that other guys, like the way he's able to create. Like, think about that Raiders game, 2 years ago, where he ran around for 25 seconds on a 2-point conversion and ended up converting it. So he's gonna get the most out of these guys for sure. And then the run game. Right now, the offensive line needs to have more success in the run game. Like, there was not any running back who I thought outperformed their offensive line more than James Conner last year. Like, he continues to be one of the most underrated backs in the NFL. And you give him a legit backup in Trey Benson. That was the issue last year. Is the Cardinals, anytime Conner was off the field, they had a negative at running back. I mean, he had 5 yards per carry last year. He was second in yards after contact per attempt. I mean, over 80% of his yards came after contact last year. Like, he continues to make smart reads, bounce things when he needs to, and just like guys fall off of him. Like, he's really good. So they, like you said, they're kind of set up to be a good offense.
What's the percentage of yards that James Conner got after contact?
Over 80% of his yards were after contact.
That's crazy. What was his I gotta check the yards before contact.
He was second in yards after contact per attempt in the NFL.
The yards before
the
contact.
The only person above him was Devin Achane, who got like 80 carries in that crazy Miami shit.
This is crazy though. So I look at yards before contact per attempt as an offensive line stat, and then also as a running back stat of, you could easily avoid contact as well with how your vision is. 2.8 yards before contact per attempt, paired with a yards after contact of 2.2. Bobby, there are times where, can't tell you how many times I see, NFL running backs, NFL teams, yards before contact, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. And that's kind of like the norm for some NFL teams. 2.8 and yards after contact, 2.2. I mean, hey, you could say whatever you want about the offensive line, but whoever's calling run plays there, offense coordinator of the Cardinals, I mean, I think that's some pretty damn good stuff that's happening over there to get James Conner that kind of space, more space than he's ever had in his entire career. And then James Conner at the age of 28 having like the best year of his career. It's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think their offensive coordinator Drew Petzing is a good year of Cardinals offense away from getting a head coaching job. For what he's able to do. Even Josh Dobbs, they were able to trade Josh Dobbs. Like Josh,
Yeah.
they were able to do the most with what they had, and then with the offensive line, you have Paris Johnson's moving to left tackle. I kind of wish they would have just let him play left tackle last year, but they didn't. I thought he got better as the season went along, and he ended strong at the end of the year. So Will Hernandez has been solid. The question I have is Jonah Williams an upgrade to DJ Humphries, which is a crazy question if you would have asked 2 years ago. But Jonah Williams is just
he's all right.
He's gotten worse. Yeah. Like it's so weird how he's gotten worse, and he's not an old player. He's just kind of gotten worse. But like that's an offensive line. You're not going to go look at it and say it's the best in the NFL, but that's an offensive line they have that they can operate. I mean, their worst one they replaced with Isaiah Adams out of Illinois. A 3rd round pick. We'll see if he's good from day one, but they at least address that in the draft, and with their 3rd round pick 71.
Anything else on this offense, Bobby?
No, I think it's gonna be fun. Like I think you're gonna get a lot of guys going high in fantasy football drafts because of this Cardinals offense. Defensively, it's not gonna be fun. Again, the only defense that was worse than them was the Commanders, and they've made improvements to this defense, but I don't think they've made significant enough ones for this year, right? And like you said, they're building. So you're not mad at the GM or anything. Their strength is their safety group, and they upgraded the cornerback room with Sean Murphy, Bunny, and Max Melton, but their cornerback room was awful last year. Mm-hmm. And here's part of the issue, though, why I'm not super excited, not super excited, but a little more positive is I think Gannon is good at teaching guys how to play their position. And like they don't miss tackles, they play fast, they don't give up yak. But I don't like Jonathan Gannon's defense. It's soft quarters defense. Their blitzes are very predictable. It's just an offensive. I mean, everything's in the playbook for an offensive coordinator versus defense because you just kind of know where guys are going to be at all time. And when they don't blitz, but when they do, it's like it's very easy to call out and see it. It's very predictable. And so you match that with this talent, and I just think this is going to be one of the worst defenses in the NFL again.
So the year in which his Eagles defense broke the sack record, you kind of put that more on the talent that they had and the execution.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it from the Eagles' point of view, some of them were not, mad that he left. Now they should have done better than Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. And again, I think he's going to get guys in the right place and have them play fast. And again, not making mistakes. It's just that defense. That defense is bland, right? And we saw it in the Super Bowl. Right, the Chiefs, did whatever they, tore it up. They were able to just get the, those gains. It's a very soft defense. So if you get him good players, I don't think Jonathan Gannon is going to have this awful defense. I think you may be frustrated when it gets time to get in the playoffs. But the issue is it's that type of defense, and the defensive talent is just lacking.
Yeah, I mean, I think their best pass rusher is Dennis Gardeck, who is a undrafted free agent, which credit to Jonathan Gannon. I mean, that was a guy that barely got any playing time before last year, and then he's a good ball player for them. I think at the end of this year, you're hoping to say that B.J. Ojulari is their best pass rusher.
They're relying on Darius
year
Robinson,
2 breakout,
right? They're basically relying because B.J. Ojulari is not going to give you any run defense. They're relying on DJ Robinson or Darius Robinson being the best player on that front, and I don't think he's going to be that guy year one. They were 30th in sacks last year, 31st in pressure rate. And I like Dennis Gardeck. Like he's an underrated edge because of, like you said, he was undrafted, who, he'll keep you on your heels, but he's also someone who he's only going to be good versus bad offensive tackles. And anytime he's playing a good offensive tackle, he's just not going to be someone who you're worried about.
He's a motor.
They got Bilal Nichols gives them a better presence in the middle. But like I said, they're really relying on Darius Robinson being that guy year one. And it's not like they have the secondary to counter that, right? Like,
no.
Sean Murphy Bunting was a good ad for them. And, you draft Max Melton in the 2nd round, but it's the safeties are the strong position of this defense, right? Like Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, and then Dadrian Taylor Demerson, I think is someone who can actually play right away. So I think you're going to see a lot of 3 safety sets, which Jonathan Gannon likes to do anyways. It's just there's just no pass rush on this defense, right? And even if Darius Robinson has a good rookie year, BJ Ojulari I think can be better in a more consistent role. I liked his, I kind of liked his rookie year, and then you have Dennis Gardeck. Like, it can be better than last year, but I don't think there's any chance of this being a top 20 pass rush unit, like 21st or whatever is their ceiling.
What room are you putting Darius Robinson in? The defensive line room or the linebacker edge room?
Well, what are the Cardinals putting him in?
They're putting him in the defensive line room, but they said that he's going to be primarily asked to do a lot more, but he'll be in the defensive line room, was the straight up answer the defense coordinator gave.
That's where I would put him. I would put him at 5 tech. I'd put him at 5 tech. That's where he's going to be his best. I'm not putting him in on the interior a ton, but the Cardinals also, I know it's different GMs, but they also have this knack of, I don't know if it's their scouts or what, where they love to draft a guy who doesn't have a position. Simmons, Zavon Collins is like a starting edge for them right now.
I think they've kind of gone away from that a little bit. I think Darius Robinson is a fit just because he's strong as fuck.
Yeah.
I think
Robinson's going to be a solid player in the NFL, but I don't think he's going to be anyone. He's never going to be someone who can lead a unit.
Okay, that's fair. 27th overall pick, and I think that's I think that's fair. I'm excited for where he's going to be. I personally would put him out on the edge. It's just like, hey, be the biggest, strongest guy on the field, and these offensive tackles that
first and second down, third down, you want him on the interior.
These offensive tackles that are constantly kind of begging you to, they kind of want you to rush the corner because they're preparing for that, but they're not preparing for a bull rush. Just Darius Robinson should just take him for a ride. That's my perspective on things. Can we talk about the rest of this draft class?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. Kazir White, I like him. He's a wrecker. Plays fast. 9 tackles for loss. He's a fun. He plays like a hothead. But before we get into the draft class, let's go additions versus loss.
Oh yes,
added Desmond Ridder, Zay Jones, Chris Moore, Jonah Williams, Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, Mac Wilson, and Sean Murphy Bunting. They lost Hollywood Brown, Rondell Moore, DJ Humphrey, Jonathan Ledbetter, Josh Woods, Antonio Hamilton, and Kevin Wall. So they didn't. Hollywood Brown is a good player. DJ Humphries, you lost him, but you replaced with Marvin Harrison Jr. and then the offensive tackle swap of Humphries for Jonah Williams. Humphries still is a free agent too.
They have $35 million in cap space. They should have kept Hollywood Brown.
I wouldn't have. I think they're better off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. They like Michael Wilson as a wide receiver too. I'm fine with them letting Hollywood go. Now I don't know why they traded. Well, we know why they traded a first round pick from the first place, but he wasn't someone you should have done that for. I'm kind of fine with them. If anything, I would go back. I would go spend some money on DJ Humphries and just let him and Jonah Williams battle for right tackle.
Yeah,
even though DJ Humphries played left tackle for them last year. But the draft class.
Love
Marvin Harrison and Darius Robinson in the first round. Max Melton in the second round. Trey Benson, I love him in the third round. Isaiah Adams in the third round. Tip Bryman in the third round. Elijah Jones, first name I don't know, in the third round. So 4 third-round picks. And then Dadrian Taylor Demison in the fourth round. Really like him. Xavier Thomas in the fifth round. Christian Jones, who's like a guy who can maybe be something at tackle in the NFL in the fifth round. Tezwan Palmer in the sixth round, and then Jaden Davis in the seventh round. I think there's 7 guys in there who are going to contribute day one.
Yeah, I think Max Melton, corner from Rutgers, I've kind of compared him to, I think he's going to have like a Devin/Jason McCourty career, or even like a Logan Ryan career, where, maybe Rutgers. Not great, fantastic, all Rutgers guys. But, the comparison now that, Greg Schiano is kind of back in the fold, I think Greg Schiano is going to start developing these players again, like you see in the NFL. And like you saw in the NFL at one point when he was there in Rutgers, where good football players that are going to last for a long time because they have high IQ, they're tough guys, they don't take plays off, shit like that. So I love Max Melton. Maybe an overdraft at 43rd, but I feel confident in the player that he's going to be good for a long time. Trey Benson, he's explosive. I like Isaiah Adams from Illinois, by the way.
Yeah.
I think he recovers really well. I think he replaces his hands really well. He needs to work on winning the snap and winning at the point of attack. But his
It'd
technique
be
and
good to
some of
see
this
him
stuff is
focus on guard
fantastic.
full time.
Yes, yes. I'm skipping around here. DTD, the safety, is a guy that we looked at. Absolutely love him. Think he's a ball hawk. And I even like Christian Jones. Like, I think he's an athletic tackle. And maybe even one day, like, I can see him developing if things go right. Can see him developing into a possible starter.
Absolutely. He's the rare, like, 5th-round offensive tackle, like who you said, like, you can see developing into a starter. Most offensive tackles drafted in the 5th round are, like, guard or bust, but he's someone that can do that. Who's your X factor for this team?
It's Marvin Harrison Jr. Not to get
you're doing
too
a first round, a top 5 pick as an X factor?
No, but really, man, Marvin Harrison Jr., for talking about expectations and what you could do in 2024, if he's coming here and he can have a Garrett Wilson type rookie year, Chris Olave type rookie year, and be that stud and be that alpha for them like we think that he can, it changes the trajectory of what the Arizona Cardinals can do on offense. And we know they have a good running game. We know that James Conner is going to be good. And even if James Conner isn't as good as what he was last year, you have Trey Benson to be in there. But if this passing game, because that was the area which Kyler Murray and the passing offense, when Kyler returned, that was middle of the pack. If we're talking about an improvement with the fully healthy Kyler, and now that you know that you have Trey McBride and there's some options, Michael Wilson on that offense, you're talking about a top 10 rushing offense and a top 10 passing offense. Sounds like a top 10 offense to me. And if you have a top 10 offense, you're winning some football games in the NFL.
Yeah, it sucks they're in this division because, like,
it's good.
They were in the NFC East or the NFC South. We're talking about that team that can
make the playoffs.
Yeah, or like at least compete for like second place or something. Justin, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will be the best player on that roster by the end of the year, and that's your X factor. My X factor is Sean Murphy Bunting. Got 3 years, $22 million deal from them. He's been a solid core in the NFL, but for this defense to work, he needs to be better than just solid. He needs to be like really good for them. He's a great run defending corner, right? So he's going to bring that, but they need him to be really, really good in coverage to make this defense not awful. So Sean Murphy Bunting is my X factor for them. All right, over under 7.5 wins.
Oh, I had 6.5.
We got to get on the page. Saying I'm going to send you the link for mine.
Send me what you got. I can't go over. Fuck it. I'm going over.
It's tough. If they were in the NFC South or NFC East, this would be an over.
Damn it.
I'm going to go under, but it's at 7. This defense is too bad. And you can't play in a division with the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks with a defense that bad, and I can't put you over. I can't put you at 8. I can't put you at 8 wins.
I know.
But I have them at 7. But I'm really excited for this offense, and I'm really excited for this Arizona Cardinals. So that was the Arizona Cardinals, and this is Football Today.